we were told like how demonic Mormons were, so we should
This is the one true church,
happens and all the bad people die, where you are cleaning up dead
and
bodies.
everyone else burns in a fire.
Welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a little bit different of an episode. So I do have a special guest, but this is not an XJW Women Speak Out interview. I actually have on Shelise and Sola from Cults to Consciousness channel here on YouTube. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little bit of a comparison video of Mormons versus Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, when I was deconstructing, ex-Mormon videos were eye-opening to me when I realized how similar these two religions are. So I thought we would go ahead and just do this. So welcome, Shelise.
Yes.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me, Alyssa. It is so fun, like I mentioned off camera a second ago, to do something a little different because, I normally conduct interviews and I'm the one asking the questions. But I mean, I could talk about Mormonism all day. Of course, I was born and raised in it. And the funny thing is, so many people come to our channel and say, I deconstructed Mormonism because of watching Jehovah's Witness videos, because
Yeah.
they are truly sister religions. And I've done this topic a few times with other ex-J-Dub podcasters and YouTubers because it's just so fascinating how similar they are. Just like thing for thing. Every time I talk to someone from Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm like, me too.
It is eye-opening. It is very eye-opening.
Yeah.
I mentioned this off camera as well, but I remember being told, well, as Jehovah's Witnesses, you're not really supposed to look into any other religion because they're all false religions, they're all bad. But Mormons specifically, we were told like how demonic Mormons were, so we should stay as far away from them as possible. I remember like running into them when we were in the like door-to-door work, and they'd be like, that is a demonic religion. And so when I actually did research and watched videos, I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder why they say that. Because if you were to even look at like a couple things, you'd be like, wait a minute, this is
We do that
really
too.
similar. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so funny. I honestly don't think I had any sort of awareness or perception of Jehovah's Witnesses. I think I've only, since starting the channel, started to figure out who they were and everything. I think in Mormonism, I mean, just like any other cult or religion, they're like, this is the one true church, and you are so lucky to be in this church, and all the other ones are false, and maybe they have some truth, but they don't have all the truth, and you have the truth. And so they just really like, instead of, I feel like the Mormon way is instead of going, don't look over there, don't look over there, they're like, look over here, look over here, look over here. And so you really don't even know what's outside of the bubble until you leave, and then you realize, I was so sheltered. I don't know anything about the world.
Yeah, I mean, they're real similar. I think Jehovah's Witnesses tend to lean more into the like, everything is scary and horrible, don't look at it, while still
Yeah.
filtering it like, you're in the one true religion, you are in the truth, you are so, like you said, you're so lucky to be in it. Like, look at you, you were born into this. What a
Yeah.
privilege. But yeah, it's just so crazy. And um I did a interview with you on your channel, which I will link below.
And
I'm
it
sure
did
every one of
so
my
well.
subscribers, I think every one of my
Everyone
subscribers
loved
watched it, but
it.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
remember
everyone
you
loved it. I'm
mentioning
not
like,
surprised.
I remember you mentioning like they were founded around the same time. And at the time,
Yeah.
I mean, born and raised Jehovah's Witness. I don't really know the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, but they were founded like 40 years apart. So I think Mormons were like 1830, and I think Jehovah's Witnesses are like 1870. So I feel like it was just this generation of men that were like, hey, we're gonna create this really cool cult.
Guys. And that
But
was
we're
in
the one true
upstate New
religion.
York, right? Upstate New
Yes.
York
Yep.
for
Yep.
same for Mormons. So
Yep.
a little tidbit that I've learned Mormon history along the way. And guys, I'm not a Mormon historian, but I do try to absorb as much information as possible from all of these other ex-Mormon creators and the ones who are really doing the work, finding the sources, citing all of that stuff. So if I get a couple details wrong, please forgive me. I'm just doing my best to keep it all rattling around in my head. But at that time in in those times, especially in that area, so many religions were popping up. Hundreds of religions were popping up, but only a few stuck. And that's what most people don't know, is that it was such a time of unrest and people trying to figure out, do I go Protestant or evangelical, or do I go this, do I go that? And that's why the story of Joseph Smith is that he was like, I'm so confused, I don't know which church to join. And that's when he went into a grove of trees and prayed and said, which church do I join? And then he was visited. This is the First Vision account, which there are many, but the one that the church uses currently is, and then God and Jesus appeared to him and said, don't join any of them. They're all false. You have to create the restored gospel upon the earth. So it was kind of a thing that happened a lot, actually. In fact, some of Joseph Smith's own confidants, people who helped him start the church, later left and went and followed a different prophet who claimed something similar. So it wasn't like a weird thing, it was happening frequently. And I feel like the only reason Mormonism survived is because after Joseph Smith was killed, the second prophet, Brigham Young, just isolated the saints. He took them all to what would be known as Utah, and they were just completely isolated and on their own and had multiple wives, tons of children, and they just expanded, and then obviously missionary work. But I feel like if they didn't transition over to Utah, I really don't know if it would have survived. Like all the other churches also failed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about the Jehovah's Witness history, so I'm not even going to attempt to dive into that. All I know is Charles Taze Russell founded it as the Bible students, and then in the 30s is when they went to Jehovah's Witnesses. But I do know they had something similar. I mean, I can't remember when it was, but when they switched over to being called Jehovah's Witnesses, I think there was a group that went off of them and like stayed the Bible students. I probably have all this wrong, so if I
Yeah, no,
do,
I think that's
um,
right based on other conversations I've had.
yes, yeah. So it's kind of interesting because I think people were like in it following Charles Taze Russell, and when he like died or whatever, like they wanted to continue that path, and they did. I don't even know if they're still around anymore, but
Hmm.
um, I do think the Mormons had kind of some smarts and like isolating themselves to like their own little area in the States and letting it kind of grow from there, either in their own little world, not only with the religion, but then also within geographically. And then I
Yeah.
think that's probably why. And I mean, they're bigger than Jehovah's Witnesses at this point, I'm pretty sure. So they did
Well,
something
Brigham
right.
Young legitimately declared himself king, so he was trying to do something.
Obviously.
And the government was like, no, this is the United States. And he's like, no, I'm king of this land. And they're like, no, you're not.
Like, no, that's not how this works.
Sorry, sorry, Mormons. Also, stop practicing polygamy.
Oh, that's one thing. I guess Jehovah's Witnesses never practice polygamy. That's one.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one of our differences. We can talk about
Uh-huh.
differences while we're having this discussion as well.
Okay.
Mormons dove really deep into like building up the family and having lots of children, and Jehovah's Witnesses did like the polar opposite. And I feel like that's probably why Mormons are a bigger religion to this day. And I
Yeah.
think that's why Jehovah's Witnesses are having some changes that they're having, because they're realizing, oh crap, we should have been like pushing for more children, because that's who your growth really comes from. Like in modern day and age where you have the internet, you can look up information on any religion. They can't hide from who they are, and from YouTube channels like this, or, TikToks or whatever it may be, that explain the religion for what it really is. So Jehovah's
Yeah.
Witnesses are like not growing because no one has children. Like everyone was told, wait to the new system. You don't need children now. And it's
Yeah, I
backfiring.
remember that from your interview. You were like, they didn't want us to have kids. And I was like, what? Because that's
Yeah.
the easiest way for cults to grow is from within, from people who are indoctrinated from birth and they just continue on without asking questions. It's so much harder to convince someone to join that type of religion because an outsider hears the doctrine and they're like, nah, it doesn't make sense. But when you're born into it and you've been told these things your whole life, you don't really question it. And so that is really interesting. And both religions are end times religions.
Yeah.
So, I wonder why. I guess they just doubled down extra hard on the end times thing and they're like, there's no point because the
Yeah.
world's about to end.
Yeah.
And Mormons were like, just have all. I think maybe this is what it is as I'm talking it out. Mormons think that they have to bring down as many souls from heaven as possible into Mormon families so they can get their bodies to be baptized because it's a lot easier to go to the celestial kingdom, the highest level of heaven in Mormonism, if you had a body, because they always say in the afterlife it's so much more difficult to get to the celestial kingdom. It takes so much longer and all these hoops you have to jump through, and hopefully someone on earth does a baptism for the dead for you so that it makes it easier. But it's this whole process, because I remember thinking as a kid, I was like, wait, if I could just do whatever I want now, have someone baptize me when I'm dead, that would be a much easier, more fun life. But then they're like, no, 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 it is so hard. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll just do it the right way.
Yeah, that is, I don't know why. I mean, because I guess Jehovah's Witnesses obviously don't believe everyone's going to heaven. So maybe that's a thing. They think everyone's going to be, the vast majority of people are going to be on earth in a paradise. And that's when they tell you, like, that's when you can have family. Because we're going to have to repopulate the world because, billions of people are going to die at the end of the
Yeah.
system. So then you can just, have children then and repopulate the earth, and they'll be true Christians because they're born into the religion already. So it's so
So
weird.
let's talk about that, because I feel like there are so many similarities in this whole millennium apocalypse thing. So for the Mormons, and again, this is what I remember being taught. Maybe they've changed it. They do that all the time and just pretend the other thing never happened. But I remember being taught that when the second coming happens, basically, we're also preppers. Mormons, food storage, gallons of water, which I'm not against. Like, go for it. We had our little canned potatoes that we would go to the cannery, and I would help my mom get all the potato flakes or whatever. So we did all that. So the whole thing is, when Jesus comes, you have to take all of your food storage to the local church, basically in communism style. Everyone goes community style, whatever you want to call it. And then if you also, I learned this at a later age from my super, super prepper auntie who doesn't talk to us because we're demons, um, that if you go to the church with nothing, they will turn you away. So you have to bring some, you have to contribute. And then if you do, then everything will be separated and distributed amongst the families. So everyone's good, everyone has food storage. But none of that makes any sense, because according to the theology, from what I remember, is when Jesus comes, if you're righteous, you're automatically floating up into the sky, you're lifted up, and everyone else burns in a fire. And it's like, oops, sorry you didn't get baptized. It could even be a family member who is drinking coffee and just not living the rules. And they're burned up in a fire below you. And so food storage, I'm like, why does that even matter? Because we're all going to be lifted or burned anyway. Anyways, so, and then, so the righteous are lifted up, and that doesn't mean all Mormons. You have to be a good Mormon. And then after the world burns, it's made into a paradise, and then all the animal, like I could go up and pet a lion if I wanted to. It's like the Garden of Eden. Everyone just lives in harmony for 1,000 years, and it's called the Millennium, where Satan is like caged up somewhere, and then we all live perfect, happy lives. And then at the end of the 1,000 years, I think Satan is released, we're all tested, and then we officially go to heaven or hell. I don't know. It was just so weird. And I remember thinking, none of this makes sense, because in my brain, I was like, well, maybe I should just wait to have kids for the millennium, because then they won't have to worry about sin. And then I was like, wait, that's not fair. If you're born during, and I remember asking this in Sunday school, if you're born during the millennium and you're not tested, then it's like a free ride to heaven? And they're like, oh no, God will figure it out. And I was like, no, that doesn't
I
sound
don't think you're
fair.
calculating.
So I think I've heard your version, and I know it's pretty similar. So
Mhm.
let's hear yours.
Yeah. Okay. So they claim that obviously they only believe 144,000 are going to heaven, and they
Okay.
think that they die when they die here on earth at this time. They then are like up in heaven now with Jesus as judges and princes and kings or whatever. Again, I'm not very good with all of this. But when Armageddon happens, so that's when the book of Revelation basically comes to fruition, and governments turn against the true religion. Um, Basically, there will be like an actual war, and they would depict these wars in publications of like armies coming after people and shooting and killing them in the streets, and you had to still continue to remain firm, because it's going to be, they kind of almost likened it to like during Hitler's reign, where they were like, hey, if you denounce your faith, we won't put you in a concentration camp and kill you. It's kind of what they claim is going to happen. So you have to stay firm. You may die for your faith, but don't worry, because once Armageddon happens, the final war happens, God is going to wipe out everyone. He's going to kill everyone on this earth that were not his followers. And then you will be resurrected if you died, or if you lived through it, you get to then help clean up the earth and make it back
Oh,
into a
fun.
paradise. So you have 1,000 years, again, 1,000 years, where Satan is gone after the final war happens and all the bad people die, where you are cleaning up dead bodies. They specifically
Oh.
say that. We will have to clean dead bodies, but most likely the birds will take care of that for you, so you don't have to
Oh,
worry too much about it. Yeah. Um,
this
oh
doesn't
my
sound
gosh.
like paradise.
No, right? And then for that 1,000 years, you're rebuilding the earth back to the Garden of Eden, and animals will become peaceful. So yes, you get to pet a lion. It used to be when I was a kid, it was very much worded and like you get to choose where you live and you get to like live this beautiful life while still working to rebuild, which I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. Like, we'll have to build new kingdom halls and build things so that people that were resurrected that maybe didn't know about Jehovah will get to know Jehovah. But then they changed it to where it's like, well, you may be assigned somewhere. So it's like no different than now. Like you're going to be assigned somewhere that you can live. It may not be by your family, but you have to do that because that's what Jehovah wants from you. You're going to rebuild. You're going to still preach because people are being resurrected who never met him. And then at the end of 1,000 years, Satan comes back and is tempting everyone one more time to see if you actually get to live forever. So your stories, then you go to heaven. With us, it's like, well, you just still live on earth or you get died. So you're going to be killed. Either way, you're on earth. You're never going to heaven because you don't belong in heaven. God doesn't want you there.
Man.
It's so weird.
Jehovah does all the work of making a mess and he can't even clean it up in like a
I
snap of a
know,
finger. Makes you guys
right?
do it.
Yes. And I remember like one of the governing body members, and if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you probably remember this. He did a talk. I don't even know when it was. It was within the last 10 years. And he talked about that final war and how, you know, he said something along the line of it's going to smell terrible, like burnt flesh. He's like, like that really burnt hot dog smell. I was like, excuse me, what? They're sick. They like take pleasure in the thought of all these people being killed off. So yeah,
Jeez.
it's crazy. But
Yeah. I gotta say I prefer the Mormon version.
I do too. Yours seems much nicer.
Well, except for the burning alive part if you're not
Well, yeah.
good, but
So my question would be then, do they believe that it's only Mormons? Like not even somebody who has learned the Mormon truth and maybe has it in their heart? Is it
yeah.
like you have to be a good Mormon and that's what saves you?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
from what I remember, it's you have to be a baptized Mormon and you have to be a good baptized Mormon. So even if you're baptized, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to float up to heaven. It just means you have a chance to make it. And
Okay.
so, but then if you die before the millennium, you do have a chance in the afterlife to accept Mormonism. And that's why they do baptisms for the dead. And that's why they do endowment sessions for the dead in the temple. The whole point of the temple is to do all this work for dead people.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Witnesses are kind of similar. So it's like you have to be a good Jehovah's Witness, but they also say like Jehovah's the only one who reads hearts. So there could be someone you encountered that when, Armageddon starts, they like plead to Jehovah to save their life and they might be saved. And then they have that 1,000 years to prove their worth pretty much. So,
Hmm.
and it used to be
Yeah.
they had new light 2 years ago. It used to be like once Armageddon hit, you had no choice. Like it was like Noah's Ark. The doors were closed. You were dead. You were done. But now it's like, well, it could be way into the actual like war of Armageddon happening that people will see God is real and they can repent and he'll save them. So, and then
Hold on.
that's
Did you call it new light?
yes. Yes.
Haven't heard that one before.
Yes. So they have new light all the time. It's becoming more and
New
more frequent.
light.
It's Jehovah shedding more light on the truths, and the governing body gets new light and they have to bring it to us so that we have better understanding of things. Yes.
Okay, but you don't have a prophet, but they're
No.
still claiming to get word from God.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. So Mormons have prophets, right? And they claim
Yes.
to speak directly with God then?
100%. Like they have
Okay.
conversations all the time.
Okay. Yeah, so governing body, it's so confusing. They claim they are not that they are infallible and not inspired, and yet they also claim that Jehovah's, like, when they pray for Holy Spirit, he's helping guide them to direct their sheep. So it's like, so then technically you are speaking with God. It's very
Yeah.
confusing. It's all semantics.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's, I think, a
I
way for
was
them
just
to
gonna
like get out
say.
of trouble, like
Uh-huh.
in courts and stuff. They're like, well, we're not technically speaking for God. We don't really make rules. We're just like helping guide this organization. It's like, not really. That's not how it works because everybody looks to you for answers for everything. So
I actually
it's
just
crazy.
saw a clip and it was from an ex-Mormon page. I saw it yesterday actually, and it was a clip of this woman giving the super sweet voice and talking to the children, and she says, why do we need to listen to the prophet, kids? Why do we need to listen to the prophet? And then one little boy's like, so we know what to do and we're guided, and like the typical answer that you're taught to say. And then she turns to the current prophet and she was like, would you ever lead the children astray? And he's like, oh, of course not. I would never do such a thing because I am given direction by God, and God would never lead you astray. And I'm just like, huh, except all the prophets before you have definitely done so at some point. Like, let's talk about the racism. Let's talk about blood atonement. I mean, there's so many things where it's just kind of, it's comical once you step away from it and you can see it for what it is. But when you're looking at it as a faithful member, it's like, oh, that's so sweet. Kids are following the prophet, and the prophet speaks for God. And it's just so normal and natural that you cannot see it for like what is right in front of you. You just can't see it. It's this old guy that's basically just like, I speak for God. If anyone else on the street was like, I speak for God, you'd be like, get this guy in a loony bin, right? Like, no
Yes.
questions asked. Take him off the street. He needs some help. But then you have a $1 billion corporation and this sweet look. Well, the debate is out if he's sweet looking or not. But if he's just like, yes, children, I speak for God, and everyone's like, oh, it's just so interesting how you can't see the disconnect there. And I don't
Yep.
blame people because I've been there. I've been the Mormon that has defended the prophet. And like, guys, it's the only religion that makes sense because there are no other religions that have a current prophet speaking to God. And God would never just leave us high and dry. He had prophets all through the Bible. So doesn't it make sense that there is a prophet today? Like, I was 100% a defender. So I'm not trying to belittle people because I understand the mindset. It's just interesting to point out.
It's crazy. I mean, I agree with you. When you step away from it is when you go like, "Oh my gosh, how did I ever buy into this?" But you were there, I was there where you fully believed it. You fully believed that these people were speaking for God here on earth. That's why you were so blessed to be in this one true religion that knew the truth that no other religion knew. They were all blinded. They were all blinded by Satan in the system. And it's just like, no, it's kind of crazy. Like the fact that, like now I look at it, I'm like, the fact that these men in New York, again, this is a worldwide religion, and yet there's only like, it's now I think 12 men in New York, but it's been anywhere from like 8 to 12 who are calling the shots for everyone worldwide, when it's like, you're in your bubble in New York. You don't live a real life. You are housed, fed, and like in this little compound that like has nothing to do with the outside world, and yet you're going like, this is how you have to live your life, and you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do this, and please give us money, please donate to us. And
Oh
it's just
my
like,
gosh.
how do you
Let
not
me
see this
jump in
stuff?
here to
Yes,
give you a
please do.
parallel example. So there was this guy, he was an apostle, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but I'm sure you could Google it easily. Went into one of the poorer countries in Africa, third world, like they barely have water, they can barely feed their family. And he legitimately said, the reason you're poor is because you're not tithing to the church.
Oh my
We
god.
don't need their money. They need
Oh
their
my
money.
gosh.
They need food.
Yes.
They need shelter. It is just so off color. and tone deaf. Like, do you even listen to yourself when you walk into this place with a three-piece suit, looking all sharp, trying to tell these people that they need to give you money when you have over 100 billion, it's estimated $300 billion, not including assets? We don't need their money. We need to be giving them money. We need to be
Yes.
helping them. Where is the aid? And then people say, oh, well, there is humanitarian aid. They gave 10 million or 1 million. Wow, $1 million. That's like a penny compared to what they have. Do you know
It's
they could end they could end hunger in the United States with just the money in their bank accounts. Isn't that staggering? But no, they still have to pay to go on missions. You still have to pay money to go and do marketing for the church 24/7 for 2 years of your life as a teenager. You still have to pay them for that. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make sense. Does the Jehovah's Witnesses have quite a bit of money? Are they constantly asking for donations? It's not recommended, or it's not required to tithe a
yeah.
percentage, right? Like Mormons?
Correct. No. So they say that's where they claim they're the one true religion because they don't have like mandatory donations or tithing. It's all voluntary. You can as much as or as little as you want to give. But with that being said, it is like almost a weekly reminder on
Mm-hmm.
at meetings or at like a assembly or on their broadcasts where it's like remember that Jehovah loves a giving heart and a like, here's all these projects we're doing and we need more donations and this and that. If you can pray on it, let us know. It's all now online. It used to be you'd have like an actual box in the kingdom halls or an assembly hall that you'd put money in. Now it's all online. They always talk about you can set up automatic monthly donations, and I don't know if they do it still now, but it used to be like as a publisher or like an official Jehovah's Witness, you were supposed to give X amount per person in your household. And I think it was like $10 a month per person in your house. And it was like, this is the recommended donation. But again, it's voluntary. It's all voluntary. It's so silly and it's so stupid. And then, um, they will have right now, I think they're still going on. They have what they call like international conventions, which are like these huge, you get to travel to a different country and it's like put on by the organization and it's in cities that they will have these hotels you have to stay at specifically. They want you flying kind of certain airfare if possible. And you have to pay your way there to be a part of this huge thing that you get to brag about. Like, look at me. I got to go to Norway to an international convention and look at what I got to do. And they're wanting you to do it like through their certain things because then they get kickbacks, obviously. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
the governing body members that are there get to stay in the penthouse of the hotel that they're filling up. It's just like, it's so crazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Everything always funnels back to the church. I mean, you look at all
Mhm.
of the ways that the Mormon church makes money, it's truly brilliant. They have underwear that you have to buy from them that they manufacture. You can't buy them anywhere else. They have to be specific. They got the signs and the symbols and all the things. Which, by the way, at least in my mom's time, because I never had to wear them, I was never worthy enough or married in the temple. But if you didn't have a temple recommend, which meant if you didn't go and do your bishop's interview yearly or however often, or if you've sinned or whatever and you didn't repent, you didn't get a temple recommend, you couldn't even go and buy your underwear. So you had to just keep reusing the ones that you've been in, which they're basically, I don't know if you know, they're like long biker shorts, t-shirts, the whole thing. And only recently they allowed you to put your bra underneath. Before you had to put your bra on top of a t-shirt and no actual underwear. So women are getting they're having their periods in these long white cottony, very, it's not hygienic is what I'm trying to say.
That's
So
insane.
they would force you to get your underwear from them. And if you don't wear your garments, that's a big deal. That's like a huge statement to the world. It's like, I do what I want, or I'm not worthy, or whatever it is. I mean, it's a little different now with influencers trying to break the rules. But when I was growing up, it's a really big deal. So then you have that. And then you have the canneries because they say that you have to have your food storage. And here, we'll provide you with this huge cannery where you can go and can your own food, all owned by the church. There are so many different things. All the church bookstores, the Ensign bookstore, where you go and you get all your reading material, and you shouldn't be reading books that aren't from LDS authors. So here's a bookstore, and you don't even have to think about it. If it's in here, it's approved. So they are making money that way. Here are the Book of Mormons. Buy them from us. You can have your quad, the Book of Mormon, the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, Pearl of Great Price, Doctrine and Covenants. Get your name etched on it if you're a really good Mormon for an 8-year-old birthday gift for baptism. It's just like, it's never ending. Oh, don't even get me started on the temples. You have to buy your own temple clothes or rent them. They don't even allow you to just borrow temple clothes. If you're going to the temple, you own your own temple clothes or you are renting them from the temple. How, like, just money, 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 money pouring in, that all these requirements and all these things you have to pay into the church. It's so smart.
Well, it's no wonder why they have so much money. They know what they're doing.
They have
I don't
so
know
much
how much
money.
I don't even know how much Jehovah's Witnesses are worth. I know it's probably not to that level, but their thing is just in real estate. They always say they're just a real estate company that's like has a front as a church. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of true. They
Well,
buy
same with
land and
Mormonism.
properties
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think, there's no special temple clothes for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is good, I guess. Um, and they did used to do a lot more, like obviously they had all their like publications that they put out, like the Watchtower and Awake and all their studying books and all of that. And it was always, these are free to you, but you should donate when you get them. So it was, again, that
You
little bit
got
of
them
a
for
like,
free,
yeah, we did get them for free,
but
but
then it was a
not
guilt
really.
trip.
Yeah, it was a guilt trip. I remember like I wanted, um, they had like two different sized Bibles. There was like a smaller Bible and then a bigger Bible. And I remember when I was like a teenager, I wanted the bigger one because it was a study Bible. I was trying really hard to be better. And my dad was like, okay, but we need to donate like $25 if we're going to get that for you because you already have a Bible. And I was like, okay. But yeah, like everything is like, yes, it's free. We are so generous, but we need to be donating. We should be donating.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
I didn't even mention another way they get money. Just straight up come to your house and ask for it. So every month is fast and testimony meeting, and you've probably seen clips of it. People go up and they whisper in their kids' ears, like, I love my mommy. I know this church is true. I know Joseph Smith was a prophet. And it's super culty once you, again, once you're away from it and you see children doing this, you're like, that seems like a problem. But when you're in it, you're like, oh, they're bearing their testimony and they're only 3 years old. So anyway, you can't eat. You cannot eat. It's like a certain amount of time. For us as a family, we did it to where when you wake up, you don't eat, and once you get home from church, you can break the fast, which sucked if you had the afternoon church that started at noon. Then you had to wait so much longer instead of the morning church that started at 9. It's a 3 hour, when I went, it's 2 now. It was a 3 hour church, no food. You break the fast with the I think with the bread and the water, the sacrament or whatever. But anyways, so you're hungry, you're deprived, you can't drink either. You can't drink water. Don't even try to drink the water from brushing your teeth. And then you have to sit and listen to people go up to the podium and bear their testimony. And so it's like a super cool indoctrination session where you're hungry and tired and loopy. And then you're like, oh, wow, I feel the spirit. No, you probably just need to eat. So,
yeah, it's probably
so
low blood sugar.
yes, so that goes on for like an hour, and then you feel this guilt of like, oh my gosh, I should go up there. Oh my gosh, I should go up there because people just volunteer themselves to walk up to the podium and say whatever they want, and then afterwards you're like, oh, so glad I got that off my chest. So anyway, after you get home from church, they send the boys to your house, and I say boys because I think they're between like 12 and 14 maybe, like the young deacon, is it the deacons? They have names for them. I don't remember. But they send them knocking on your door with a little envelope to collect your what was it called? Uh People are going to remember in the comments. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a specific name and you're supposed to give the amount that you would have spent on the 2 meals that you fasted. So if you have a large family and you're like, I probably would have spent $100, you should write a check for $100, give it to the boy and send him on his way. And if you don't answer that door, you feel so guilty because they know you're home because you can't go anywhere on Sundays. They know you're home, and that's another way that they guilt you into giving more money just because because you didn't eat. But then people are like, oh, that's so great because they give that money to people who can't afford meals. Not always the case. You have to, if you need money and there's like a bishop's storehouse, and there have been cases where people do get things from the storehouse. It depends on the bishop, but there have been cases where the bishop is supposed to say, uh, if I came to the bishop and said, "Hey, I'm having a hard time feeding my family. I'm a full tithe payer. I've given money to the church. I need some food." They're required to say to you, "Have you asked your family for money yet? Have you asked your parents for money yet? Okay, go ask them first and then come back to me if they say no." Which is a tricky situation because maybe people are not not in contact with their families anymore, or they don't want to ask their parents for money. They want to ask the church who they've been paying money to for how many years.
Yes.
And then finally they'll say, okay, you're allotted this much. You can go and get from this list whatever I allowed you to get. But that's like, you have to jump through hoops. Usually it's just really hard. People are embarrassed, they're shamed for it. And like, are they worthy enough to get it? It's just a whole thing. So it's just like more ways that they shame you into giving things that you probably don't even have yourself.
That's crazy. That kind of made me think of something. So, do Mormons offer any sort of like food banks? You know, like Catholic churches usually will have some form of a food bank
They do
that like
not.
anyone can come to. Okay.
Not that I
So
know
that's where
of.
they're real similar. That's something that always bothered me as a Jehovah's Witness was like you never their service to their community was going out service, going to the door to door. Like that does anything. Like let's say there's people who need food or groceries or whatever it may be. That's not doing them any good. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one thing that bothered me because you see Catholic churches, or we have a big community church up the road from here who does like on Thursdays, they have like a food truck that anyone can come and get like hot food, and they feed the high schoolers on Wednesdays. They have like 1,000 grilled cheeses they make. Like, you don't have to be a member of the church. You can just come in those doors and get some food for the day. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that is crazy. So Mormons are similar. That's interesting.
So let me say, because I don't want to make a sweeping statement for everyone in the entire world who's Mormon, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
big church. From what I remember, growing up in a predominantly Mormon town, like 90% of us were Mormon. I do not remember anything of the sort. The thing where it would differ is on an individual basis. So let's say you know that your neighbor had a baby. They will be the first person to drop a casserole at your door. I will 100% say they're very supportive within their own community on an individual basis of people trying to help others when it's necessary. Or they'll send like care packages to another country, but they ask the members to do it though. The the people at the top who have the billions of dollars, they're not just taking upon themselves to order toothbrushes and toothpaste and send it to people in need. They ask the members to donate. So that's where it's tricky. It's like, yeah, in some cases, they do offer some sort of care packages and they do offer aid in some cases, but it's not like open to the community. There's always some sort of agenda behind it. If they host a chili cook off, sure, anyone's welcome to come, but it's because they want to proselytize to you and they want to welcome you into the community and get you to be baptized. It's not just so that we can feed people who need food. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like not out of the
It's
goodness of their heart being like
yeah.
Christians. They're doing it for ulterior motives almost in a way.
Well, and it's both. It is out of the goodness of their heart because they love get-togethers, they love cooking, they love sharing with people. But again, it's on a member level. It's not coming from the top necessarily. The people who have the money and the means to do all of the work are not necessarily doing it. It's the members who are like, "Hey, I noticed so and so hasn't been to church in a while. Maybe we should bring them some food. Maybe we should check in on them." So in that way, Mormons are really good at taking care of their neighbors, at least when they're involved in the church. And then, hate to, I don't make sweeping statements, but in most cases, when you're no longer in the church, then the community is cut off from you. You're not really, you're not able to dip into that service or that love anymore. It's
Yeah.
kind of like you're an ex-Mormon, we don't associate with you for the most part, unless they're trying to love bomb you back in. So yeah, I would say it's community with strings. And the members themselves do mean well, and they do want the best for people, generally speaking. That the people at the top aren't doing much to actually help facilitate or do any sort of selfless act on their own, as far as I'm aware.
That makes sense. No, that I feel like that's probably similar to witnesses because I know there are some. I remember my mom. There would be times when we would be like in the door to door work when I was a kid, and like we lived in a very poor town, so you ran across a lot of like very poor people. And I remember on a few occasions there would be somebody she would run into that she called like a call, so they would at least take the watchtower and awake from her. And there's a couple occasions where this woman, she's a single mom of like two little tiny ones, that she would be like, I am just, struggling. We don't have diapers, we don't have wipes. My mom would go out and get her stuff that was on her own dime, out of the goodness of her heart. So I know there's a lot of people that do that, but I wish the leadership are like so disconnected from that. I feel like, again, they're the ones with all the donations and money, and they don't tend to do a whole lot. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
down to the whole cleaning the church buildings. Do you guys hire people to clean your buildings or is it volunteer?
volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
how is it
And
that
it's a
they are?
privilege. It's a privilege to have that
Oh, of
opportunity.
course it is. Are you kidding me? We were chosen to clean the bathrooms
Yeah.
after church on
Yes.
Sunday. How lucky are we to serve the Lord? No, this church has billions of dollars. They can hire people, they can stimulate communities with how much money
Hmm.
they have. They could hire the members to go in and professionally clean. They even were asking, I saw in a post because I see these they go out to the wards and people who are 1 foot in, 1 foot out will send them to the Ex-Mormon pages and stuff. They were asking for people to donate their time to garden the temple grounds. And if you've seen the temples, these are massive estates with just immaculate roses and bushes and trail, like beautiful castle-like buildings. And they were trying to get the members to go and garden. Guys, pay somebody.
Yes.
Imagine the good you could do to stimulate your local economy and
Mhm.
pay people to do the work that you have the money to do. It's just, it doesn't, I say it doesn't make sense, but it makes perfect sense if you think of it as a corporation and not as a
Mhm.
church.
It's free labor. Of course they're going to take the
Yeah,
free labor. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I remember because in our area, we now have what's called an assembly hall. So it was an official big building that was built by Jehovah's Witnesses. Volunteers, of course. No one was paid to do it. Um, and before that, though, they would have the big like summer conventions, which are like a 3-day event at like local arenas. So like a coliseum or whatever it might be. And the day before, they would ask for volunteers, and you would get hundreds of people that would go into like somewhere that just had a rodeo, and they're cleaning the bleachers off. They are like cleaning it floor to ceiling basically for their attendance for the weekend. And it was like all free, all volunteers. And when you got invited to do it, you were like, oh, this is amazing. And they would be like, we had comments from the people that own this building about how it's the cleanest they've ever seen it. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, it's a bunch of people who think they're doing this for God. Of course, it's the cleanest they've
Yeah,
ever seen it. Like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
Well,
Oh
that's how
my
you get
gosh.
people to do willing things like that by spiritually manipulating them and telling them that it's a gift and how special
Mhm.
are you and how lucky are you. And so it's hard not to lean into that when you're a member who's constantly beaten down about everything, about the guilt and the shame and the repentance. So it feels good to do something worthy and to do
Yeah.
something that they deem as special. You're going to lap it up, of course.
Yep, absolutely. So that makes me, you just kind of mentioned something about the guilt and shame. So, do Mormons lead really into, because I know I was watching something where they were saying like modern day churches tend to either be too much truth or too much grace. So it's like it's too much like everything's fine, everything's beautiful, everything's whatever, or it's too much like you're terrible, you're not good enough, you need to live up to the Bible more. And Jehovah's Witnesses are very much more that truth side of things where you walk away from every meeting, every assembly, like I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, like God is not happy with what I'm giving. Are Mormons more that way, or they tend to be more like the grace side of things, like everything's wonderful and amazing and you're doing great?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question because I feel like on the surface, it would appear that they're just happy. God has saved me because I'm Mormon, I'm special, everything's fine, everything's great. But under the surface, there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. And I think a lot of people just get good at masking. And so they look like they're very happy and everything's awesome, but really they're going through a lot. And I think a lot of that has to do with the confession culture because, and I say culture, it's really not, it's required. So you have to go in and tell your sins to the bishop. You have to do yearly meetings. If you've sinned and you feel like you need to repent, you have to make an appointment right away. Um, so that can lead to a lot of guilt and shame that's unwarranted, that's really unnecessary. Sure, there is a place for feeling remorseful for something that you truly did wrong, but a lot of these rules are so arbitrary and random and against human nature that it makes you turn against yourself in a way that really degrades your psychology. It really makes you think that you're a horrible person. But if people know that you're struggling, whether it's depression or anything that makes you look unhappy, they equate happiness to worthiness. So if you look unhappy, that must mean you're not worthy. That must mean God is not favoring you, which means you're not doing something right. And so it forces you into this toxic positivity of everything's fine. I'm fine. Are you fine? Do you want a casserole? It's like it tends to be really fake, and that's just it's
Yeah.
a symptom of a larger issue because of the way they perpetuate this incessant confession over the smallest things to where you think that you're just a horrible person. And depending on the bishop, they may lean into that. You may have a bishop that's like, "Oh, you're totally fine. Thanks for sharing that," which I had that experience, and I've had the experience of you are just not spiritual enough. You need to repent. That was unnatural for you to do something like that. You are just not worthy, like horrible. And so it's really it's really a tough situation. And they switch bishops every 4 years, so it's not like if you find a good one you can just stick at that church because he's going to be gone and a new one's going to be put in. You don't know what you're going to get. So I guess in that way it gives a lot of anxiety too.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's I mean, I know like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses have like that really intense purity culture, which is like so hard as like a person in general, but especially growing up in it because it goes against biology. Like we biologically have hormones that make us want to do things, and it's so like villainized. It's crazy.
Hmm.
You mentioned how like if you're feeling depressed or something, people view it as like, oh, God's not blessing you right now, or God's not in your life enough. You're doing something wrong. Jehovah's Witnesses are the exact same way. Like if you are anxious, depressed, down, like what's going on in your life that's causing you to feel that way, because if you have God's Holy Spirit in your life, you should be the happiest you've ever been. It's like
Yep.
okay.
And then
For the
they
longest time they were
go
anti
ahead.
like therapy, anti medication, and they were very much like you just need to pray more or read the Bible more if you're depressed. It's like, oh yeah, that's a really great form of therapy. That doesn't seem to do
Yeah.
anything.
I will say Mormons are down for the medication probably more than they should be. It's like just take a pill and you'll be fine. Because that's an issue, like truly an issue. And you can tell because if you look at the stats in Utah where it's primarily, well, I think the stats are shifting and it's not majority anymore, Mormonism. It's still like 50% of the state. But if you look at the state statistics, it's pretty easy to tell how Mormonism affects your psychology, affects the suicide rates, affects so many things, affects the opioid epidemic, affects plastic surgery. It's the most vain state. People don't believe it, but truly, they have the most plastic surgeons per capita than any other state because you have to see the symptoms again of a greater issue of what's being taught at the pulpit and what people are internalizing. But yes, they do believe in mental health, but it's still like what could you be doing more? Usually the answer is you need to read your scriptures more. You need to pray more. And people are like, I have done all of those things and I'm still depressed. Well, take some pills, but also don't drink coffee because that's bad for your body. But these pills are fine. It's like, it's so twisted and warped that people just, it's hard to know. It's hard to critical think. It's hard to think for yourself at all because when you have rules that are so contradictory and all over the place, you don't know what decision is okay and what's not. And so you're used to giving away your full autonomy to a bishop, to a stake president, to the prophet. It's like just tell me what to do so that I don't mess it up. And so then when you leave, it's like I don't know how to make any decisions for myself. I'm terrified. What do I do? And that's a real thing too, is learning to have autonomy again.
Yeah, that's Jehovah's Witnesses too. You have everything laid out for you. Here's the good that you can do. Here's the bad you shouldn't do. Everything is decisions you make in life are supposed to be with Jehovah God in mind and how your fellow brother and sister are going to look at you if you do X, Y, or Z. So it's like you don't, like you said, there's no autonomy. You don't get to decide for yourself. You're deciding for everybody else around you and out like those external forces. Um, which is why I think when you see these people, and it's funny because they claim people that leave then go like off the deep end and they're crazy and living a sinful, crazy life. It's like, no, they're finally making decisions for themselves. Like, I mean, it's stupid as little things of like, I want color in my hair, or I'm going to get a tattoo or a facial piercing. They view that as like a sign that you have gone off the deep end when it's really you finally just going like, I get to make a decision for myself and I'm going to do this because why not? Like,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Well, and yes, like that's the majority of people. And some people do go off the deep end because they've never been taught boundaries and they've never been taught this is a decent amount of alcohol. You need to stop at this point. They've just been taught don't drink alcohol or don't do this thing. So people don't understand limits. They don't understand how to act socially around other people who are doing these things. And so sometimes they do go off the deep end, and that's not even their fault. It's because they weren't taught how the world works. They were just taught that the world is led by Satan or is Satan. And so then they see they see that one person who did get addicted to drugs and they go, "See? That's going to be
Yeah.
you. That's going to be
Yep.
you if you leave." Even though that's not the majority of people, it does happen and they grab onto that and use it to scare the members who are still in and considering leaving.
Yep. And it's just because they people that leave are not equipped for the real world. So yeah, you do have
No,
those that just make poor decisions and they're also dealing with trauma of leaving. Let's be real. Like when you leave something that is all encompassing and I don't know about Mormons. I don't know if they shun like Jehovah's Witnesses do, but
not
if
like
you
you guys
lose
know.
your entire network or even if your family treats you differently because of a choice you've made, of course you might find yourself self-medicating in some dangerous way. So it's crazy, but I love how they use those few examples as like that's going to be you. That's
Hmm.
going to be you. And
And
then when
then
you
what
don't do that, they're
happens?
like what's happening?
Yeah, well, a few things there. So, because there are so many ex-members, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Mormons, they can't point to evidence that isn't there. They can't say, "See, all of them are doing horrible," because a lot of us are living our best life. And they can't prove it. So what they say to the Mormons is, true happiness cannot be found outside the church. The illusion of happiness can be found. Those people outside, they're not really happy. They just seem happy. They legitimately have said this over the pulpit. And so now you're just gaslighting all the members to think that those living their best lives are actually not. Because how else can you manipulate them because they're looking at these other people going, I don't know, they seem pretty happy. They have a family out there, they have a nice house, like they seem fed, they're going on family vacations, they seem pretty happy. And the Mormon leaders have to be like, no, 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 they're not, though. That's their only argument is
Yeah.
they're not.
Jehovah's Witnesses say like the exact same thing. Like they may seem happy, but they don't have true happiness.
Yep.
We have true happiness, but those people
Yes.
are just being deceived into thinking that they're truly happy. And it's like, excuse me, what?
Because then
Oh
it
gosh.
completely it makes it completely difficult for an ex-Mormon, ex-Jehovah's Witness to have a real conversation with someone who is in because the wall is up. If I were to say to someone who is in, I have never felt better. I'm no longer depressed. I'm no longer stuck in this guilt cycle. I finally feel like I'm living my authentic life. Da, 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 da. The only thing going through their head is fake, 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 because they've been programmed to think that you're not telling the truth. So
Yeah.
it makes it even harder to connect with people who have left because the second you leave, you are demonized. The second you leave, you are an outcast. The second you leave, they tell you don't associate with them because they're going to you're going to catch their Satan. they're they're contagious. They're gonna rub off on you, and now you're gonna also fall, and you're not gonna be with your family forever in heaven. And so those are real consequences for people. And so it's scary. They're like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't associate with them because they might start to get some ideas in my head that are just temptations instead of reality, instead of the research, instead of the history, instead of the facts. They're just taught to ignore everything that ex members say because they know that if they can control the information, they can control the members.
Exactly. That's it's funny you brought that up. I literally just saw my dad for the first time in like 2 years, like a couple weeks back, and that was the exact kind of scenario that panned out. Like first words out of his mouth, how is life going? And I was when I said things are really good. Like yes, it's hard. We've lost family, but we're happy. We're thriving. And it was like you see that brick wall like get built up instantly and it's like they're saying their life is good, but really their life is falling apart. And it was just like, you really can't have a relationship with people who are still very much in it when you leave because they, again, they're being told all these different things about people on the outside that there's no ground for like any
Hmm.
sort of a relationship to happen. It's crazy. It's
Yeah, they're
absolutely crazy.
building walls between families for the sake of money, for the sake of power and control. And yes, maybe there are a few at the top who truly believe the doctrine and just want to save souls, but I really feel like that's a small percentage of those on the top.
I agree. I feel the exact same way. I think the vast majority of these leaders, like in the Jehovah's Witness world as well, is just they now see this control they have, and maybe they believe it a little bit, but I don't think they believe it wholeheartedly. It's just crazy, and they like the control, which is nuts, but
And once you
they're
get
allowed to.
so far up, I just imagine if a 12 apostle were to be like, sorry guys, it's all made up. Like, here are the truth claims, and here are they're debunked, and the research is true, like none of it's real, people would lose their minds. Like they don't have that option because also there's a lot of nepotism into the hierarchy of Mormonism and it affects their entire family line. If someone were to leave like a 12 apostle or even someone in the 70, I mean, their grandchildren get college completely paid for. When you get up to those higher levels, it
Oh wow.
affects your entire family line. So they don't have an incentive. Why would they leave? Why would they blow a whistle? Why would they do any of that? Because it will actively harm their family line. Just take it to the grave.
Yeah, just live with it. Just
Yeah.
just pretend. Oh my gosh, it's just crazy. Um, wow. Yeah, I don't. Jehovah's Witnesses are different in the sense that, like, I mean, I don't think the vast majority of the governing body, like the leaders, have children. I don't think most of them do. I think some of them do, but they were in that mindset of like, don't have children in the system. Um, but it would, I mean, they're just, I think they're very prideful men that run this organization. And so they would never do anything that would affect that and make them look
Mm-hmm.
bad. So it's, cults are cults. I mean, I'm sorry, they're all the same in ways, but Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses are so similar in like their structures, their terminology. That was one thing that was really big to me was their terminology was so similar. I remember watching, I don't remember who it was, but he put out forever ago why I left the Mormon Church, and I watched that in the beginning of my deconstruction. And hearing him talk, it was so like hearing what Jehovah's Witness talk, like calling it the truth, and like the way they just talk about their fellow believers and all this stuff, and it was like, oh gosh, they are so like
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
I
They
remember
are, as you said,
watching
sister religions.
They are. I remember watching a talk from the Watchtower just for research, and I was like, this could be in Mormon General Conference. Copy paste the intonation, the words that they say, how they're just trying to manipulate you emotionally, and maybe they choke up a little bit for dramatic effect. It's all there.
Yep, it is. It is. Mormons just are smarter in the sense that they have more money and they have more children, so they might outlast the Watchtower.
We'll see. I mean, They aren't having as many children as they used to, and a lot of the millennial generation is like, this is BS. I'm out of here. So they are losing members in droves, and they say the number is like 16 million, but truly, I mean, this was even 2 years ago. I think the stat was active Mormons is closer to 4 million. So they have,
Oh,
sure,
wow.
they have baptisms, but that doesn't mean that's how many people are active and going to church. It's really not that many.
No, I Jehovah's Witnesses don't publish numbers like hardly at all anymore, but they've been around the 8 million mark of like active Jehovah's Witnesses, I feel like for a decade. So I just think they're losing a ton of people. And I would love to know what the actual active publisher number is because they count inactive people in those numbers a lot of the time. So
Yeah.
thankfully, I feel like people are waking up and getting themselves and their families away from these because, you know, on the surface, these are not super dangerous, but the reality is they can be, not only to your mental health, but to your, I mean, just state of mind. Jehovah's Witnesses have the craziness with no blood transfusions, which can literally kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy, and no one should live in that mindset of like I'm useless, I'm terrible, I can't live my life. I don't know what to do without some men
Yeah.
telling me what to do.
I will say it's worth noting that there are some people who thrive in Mormonism. Maybe they're not internalizing all of the fear, guilt, and shame doctrine. Maybe they truly have a beautiful community and bishops who are kind and aren't demonizing. And maybe it is a good experience for them because I don't want to negate those experiences while also saying at the same time, there are thousands of people who are currently being actively harmed by the Mormon church, which is why we talk about it because of course it's not going to be all bad. Of course there are good people in these religions and it really is systems not people. And I think that for some, and that's why we get angry comments every now and then, for some, it's a wonderful experience and maybe it did change their life in a positive way. But that's not to exclude the ones whose lives were taken by suicide because of the harmful LGBTQ ideology and things that they've put out in recent years. It doesn't negate people who were severely harmed by the racism and continue to be harmed by the racism because of the whole doctrine of the Lamanites being the Native Americans and the Lamanites are the wicked people in the Book of Mormon. Like, you just can't get around that if you're claiming that it's a historical document, which now they're shying away from because they realize there's proof against the Book of Mormon. That's a whole different conversation. But there are people being actively harmed. So I think we have to hold space for both scenarios, for both types of people who have a good experience, who don't have a good experience, and shed light on the negative experiences so those who are in it are and are having a positive experience can at least be aware of the things that are harming others and maybe do something about it.
Yeah, and be more sympathetic with it. I mean, let's be real. With
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses are the same way. I get a lot of hate comments that are like, being a Jehovah's Witness is the best thing I ever did in my life. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm like, that's awesome for you. But I'm speaking out for those that are stuck in it and don't have a voice because they just are afraid to speak out, but their lives are miserable or they've suffered at the hands of this organization from any of their terrible policies or,
Mhm.
CSA again is like rampant in the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's becoming more and more aware, or like that's becoming more and more visible out there.
Mhm.
But I mean, even just like abuse within marriage, like women are abused a lot, and they're told, "What did you do? What are you doing that you are causing this to happen to you?" And you can't get a divorce. Jehovah hates a divorce. So those like me that speak out against the religion are not doing it because we're vindictive or mean and want to like change the mind of those that are happy in it. We're doing it for those that don't have a voice. And I think
Yep.
it's good of you to bring that up because too many people, the keyboard warriors out there that like are like, I don't know why you would say anything terrible about this. I'm the happiest I've been. I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy for you. I'm not the person you should be looking at. You're not the
Yeah.
audience I want on my page. Like if you're happy, I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you, but that's not what this page is for.
Exactly.
So
We get comments like,
yeah,
"Well, why do you only talk about the bad?" I'm like, "Because this is not a faith promoting channel. This is I am not the
yes,
person you want to be watching, just like you said. we're talking about the things that are not great because we want to shed light on them. If you want to hear about all of the beautiful testimony stories, like go to a different page. There are plenty of pages that have that. Of course, that is good.
Yes.
No one joins a group that is all bad. It wouldn't make sense. Like it wouldn't sustain itself. So I feel like that's a given and that's an obvious. And I always give my guests the opportunity. Was there anything that you enjoyed about the group? I mean, what made you stay? Because there are always reasons for that. So yeah, I feel like those comments are a little nonsensical and a little tone deaf because it's like, just listen to
Yes.
the person who's speaking and all of your questions will be answered. Just pay attention.
Yes. Oh, but they are, I think I've seen a lot of ex-Mormons, or not ex-Mormons, active Mormons commenting on ex-Mormon content. And it's like verbatim. It could be, you just have to switch out Mormon to like Jehovah's
Yeah.
Witness and they're the exact same. Like they are just the same. And again, if you're happy in it, I'm so happy for you. Like I'm never here trying to pull every single person out and convince you you're not actually happy if you're happy. I'm happy for you. But
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, just listen to some of the people that have struggled and have a little bit more sympathy in your heart for them and compassion for them because
Yep.
people are hurt by these religions, whether you
Yep.
want to admit it or not. It just is it's just part of these religions, unfortunately, and these organizations that they have the good and the bad in them.
I
So,
think the
yes.
hardest part is learning that compassion can transcend religion. You don't have to only have compassion for those who are in it. It's understanding that if you're trying to be Christ-like, Jesus had compassion for everybody, for all of the outcasts. Jesus was trying, and I'm not even Christian, but for their own argument.
Yeah.
Um, if you're trying to be Christ-like, having the ability to hold compassion for someone who believes differently from you is the most Christ-like thing that you can do. And I think it's lost on a lot of people because of the brainwashing, because they've been told to demonize those on the outside. But truly viewing them as another human being going through a human experience, which is hard and can be hell at times, it's okay to just be like, wow, I hear you. I'm so sorry you had that experience. That wasn't my experience, but I'm so sorry that was your experience. That's all people want is a little bit of
Yeah.
validation and a little bit of, I see you and I'm sorry. We're not trying to, like you said, change people's minds. It's just allow yourself to see this other person as a human being. That's all we want.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is so well worded the way you worded that. Absolutely. Like just put yourself in somebody else's shoes for a minute. And the same could go for those that do leave and are extra angry and want to like take down the organizations and get everybody out. It's like that's not really a compassionate either thing either. If like people like my family, they're so happy in it. Great for you. But like, I don't know. It's you're dealing with a cult again. It's just hard to deal with these organizations because both sides can have bad with it. Even those that leave can be a little bit too extreme and too angry. And
Well,
I
yeah,
think
and
more need.
I have compassion for them too because there is an intense betrayal and an intense anger that comes with realizing you've been lied to your whole life. So, I'm not even upset at those people who leave screaming with a pitchfork because I'm like, yeah, I've been that person too. Maybe not as
Yeah.
openly, but I've certainly felt the way that they feel because I mean, if you've ever been cheated on, it's like that type of feeling where you're like, what? I've been
Mm,
lied to, I've been manipulated, and this is not just a relationship, it's your entire life if you've been born and raised in it. And so I can understand those who are angry and want to burn the place to the ground because you feel that way when you
yeah.
feel cheated. And so
Mhm.
even them, like, if the members could understand, and I don't know if they can because you can't truly understand their perspective until you can see it for what it is. Like we've been talking about, when you have the goggles on, you really can't understand why they feel so angry because you still don't know that you're being lied to.
Yeah.
But at least hold space for them and be like, they must be going through something that I don't understand. And that's that. Like they got to take care of themselves. We don't have to further attack that person because what good does that do?
No, absolutely. It's so messy in all ways. And I just wish, like you said, there could be more compassion on all sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, but I do think, the more that there are voices out there, not just with Jehovah's Witnesses, not just with Mormons, but people who have experienced some sort of hurt or pain leaving an organization, a religion, whatever it may be that is a cult, or high control, if you are more comfortable saying that. I know there's people that don't like the word cult, high control religion, high control group. If there's just compassion to listen to people's stories, that's all like people like me and you are trying to do is like just sit and listen to the story, sit with them,
Mm-hmm.
give them a chance to speak, give them a chance to feel their feelings, and show some love and compassion towards them, because we are all individual humans who have walked different paths and have experienced different things. And it is healing to get your voice out there, and it's healing to get some validation that, like, you're not in the wrong, you're not crazy. So,
Yeah,
hopefully.
I'm continuously shocked with how many different people I interview from different cults from all over the world. The parallels, the similarities, it's all the same manipulation, control. I mean, I just interviewed someone who she grew up with a father who was a professional criminal in Los Angeles, was forced to change her identity, forced to smuggle money and weapons, and she was a child, like forced to do insanely illegal things and disgusting things. And all of it is the same control, fear, manipulation, scare tactics, all of that. And it's just staggering to realize how many of us are going through the same thing in a totally different place in the world, in a totally different situation. And I think that's why compassion is so important, because it allows you to see the similarities.
Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate what you're doing. Your channel has been eye opening for me as well. Like, coming out of this religion, I knew nothing about any other cults. I mean, I watched some stuff on cults, and I knew, like, what is it? I can't even think of his name right now. It's the guy that had the island and everyone drank the Kool-Aid. Oh my gosh, why can't I not think of his name?
Oh,
Anyways,
yes.
that was my, like, that was a cult to me. Like, you move to a crazy island and you drink some crazy drink, and then, like, your channel specifically, and just research out of this organization as I've healed and been on this journey of sharing, like, my story and other XJWs. It's like, holy cow, there's a lot of things out there that, like you said, they follow the same kind of pattern, and they are just so similar, and it may not be anywhere remotely the same as far as on paper, but they are so the same. So I want to say thank you for what you're doing. Your channel is
Thank
amazing, and
you.
I think it's great for people to look at other cults, especially at, like I've said this before, like, if you're doubting the cult you're in. So maybe you're not a Jehovah's Witness watching this, maybe you're a Mormon, or maybe you are a different religion or a different group and you're having doubts. Look into other religions and other things that are cults, because I think it's very eye-opening when you start seeing the same patterns and the same
Mm-hmm.
things happening, because then you can, like, actually take a step back and be like, wow, maybe my doubts are valid. So I think it's great what you're doing. So
Thank you so much.
yes.
Yeah,
So I think
it's
that's a good, like, oh, go ahead. Sorry. You can go.
no, I was just gonna say it's hard work and it's heavy work at times, but it is a beautiful thing to see in the comments and the messages that we get that it is making a difference. And so I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, no, I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And I think it's also giving so many people voices that have probably never really felt like they had a voice. So
Yeah.
good on you for doing that. And I think that's a good stopping point for, like, at least our little comparing notes of the Jehovah's Witness, Mormon,
Yeah. Thanks for
the
having me
world of
on.
those. Yeah, thanks for being
Man,
on.
I can rant about Mormon. I'm sorry if I talk too much because I can
No,
just go
absolutely not.
on and on about Mormonism because obviously I'm riled up and I had some skin in the game at some point. So
Yep. No, I feel the same way. It's like when you've lived it, you've breathed it, you've dealt with it, you've left it. The passion is very much there, and I think it's huge. I think it's awesome,
I'm
and
that's you know what it is? I'm turning my pitchfork into passion.
there you go. I love that. I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. This was so much fun just to sit here and chat, and
Yes.
hopefully this was, eye-opening for others who were like me, who had never experienced anything but Jehovah's Witnesses, and you leave and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is all so similar. This is crazy.
Yes, and I have to make a shameless pitch. If you're
Yes.
watching on Alyssa's channel and you have not seen her interview on our, actually we did two because we did a live too, right? I'm gonna make Alyssa link them in her description, and then as this drops, ideally and hopefully, our plan is to release another video with Alissa simultaneously. So after you finish watching this, you can head on over to our channel and continue the conversation with us because we have more to say.
Yes, we do. We have we could be doing this for a 24-hour period. There's a lot to
Yes.
talk about. So, yes, I will link everything below in the description. Um, I'm gonna say if you haven't seen Shalisa's channel, please go to it. But I'm pretty sure you have. Cult to Consciousness is like one of the biggest channels out there. I think that most XJWs have seen and been watching for probably longer than even I have been around watching it. So, but I'll link everything below. And leave Shelise some love in the comments. Thank her so much for coming on today and discussing all of this. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. So thank you guys for sitting here with me and
Woo!
Shelise
Thanks,
today.
Alissa.